It's a Friday night here in Shinsaibashi in Osaka in Japan, and I'm walking to my local Book Off store. Now, if you don't know Book Off, it's kind of a staple in Japan. It's a great place to go to get secondhand books, manga, CDs, video games, DVDs, vinyl, all that kind of stuff. There's just so much there. You'll see when we get there. Shelves and shelves and floors. It's kind of crazy. And if you watched my last video on this channel about one bag, you'll know I'm trying to travel minimally at the moment. And so I didn't bring any books with me from the UK. And I like to read. So I thought, let's go to Book Off and see if we can find something. And I've been wanting to get into a new manga series. I'm not the biggest manga guy, but I do enjoy it from time to time. And there's this one series I want to start reading called Ashita no Jo. Now, my name is Joe, and when I used to work at a job in Japan, a certain job, my supervisor used to kind of reference it quite a bit, kind of when he was talking about me to other people or introducing me, and he'd say my name, Joe, he'd be like Ashita no Jo. It's a boxing manga from like the 60s and 70s. It's meant to be pretty classic and influential. They've made cartoons and films from it. So I'm going to go and see if I can find a tankobon, which is like a compilation of all these stories from a certain series. See if I can find one of these compilation books in Book Off. So come with me, we'll check out loads of other stuff while we're there. We'll go to every floor, look at most of the shelves, and see what kind of thing you can buy from Book Off. So here we are walking through the Shotengai in Shinsaibashi in Osaka. Shotengai is like one of these roofed shopping streets which are quite popular in Japan, and it's not too busy here. It was further back towards the station, but here we are at Book Off, and it's not the kind of biggest Book Off I've ever seen. It does have 4 floors, but it's got to fit within the Shotengai, so it's quite a narrow shop. But let's go and take a look inside. But first we'll take a look at these Pokemon cuddly toys, or Nuigurumi plush toys, and they become a bit of a theme in this shop. You'll see them on most floors. But let's have a quick look at the floor guide. So on the 3rd floor we've got comics or manga, comic. On the 2nd floor we've got bunko, which is like the small paperback books. On the 1st floor we've got Jitsuyosho, which is like manuals. And then on the bottom floor, B1F, we've got DVDs, games and CDs. This is a very rough guide. As we'll see throughout this video, there are quite a few different types of things on each floor. So we'll start off on floor B1F. We're in the game section. This is Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. Heiwa Pachinko World. That sounds like a very boring game. If you know anything about pachinko, very boring gambling game. Can't imagine it makes for a good video game. Super Jinsei Geimu, the game of life. Also sounds pretty boring, if I'm honest. Had a quick look at the Game Boy games just out of shot, down at the bottom. This one was called Dungeon Land. Not heard of that one either. And then I found one in its original packaging, its original box, which is pretty impressive when you think how old some of those old Game Boy games are. And then I thought I'd move over to the Famicom section, or the NES as we called it in the West. So looking at these labels, that says Ma, and it helps everything be organised alphabetically. So that's a Mahjong game. And then I thought, what's another famous Famicom game that starts with Ma? And I managed to pick out this one, Mario Brazzazu. Not Super Mario Brothers, this is the game that came before that. And then as you can see, we've got Ra in the next section. So Rupan Sansei, which is an anime one. And that's how they organise things. Oh, Ice Climber, very cool coloured cart there. Ice Climber, you might remember them from Super Smash Brothers. I used to play with those guys. And then I turned around and I was in the vinyl section. Let's see what we can find. Hall & Oates, if you're into your 80s pop. Yeah, I'm just going to pick some things up, see what we can find, try and give you a taste of the kind of thing that's on sale here. Of course, there's just hundreds of thousands of different items on sale, all secondhand. Kaoru Yabuki, not heard of that guy. I do like a bit of city pop though. Maybe I'll go home and listen to that. So as you can see, all the genres kind of labelled for you as well. Japanese oldies, jazz. And then sometimes they arrange things by the price as well. So you kind of have to take the price and the alphabetical order into account as well. Okay, we're in the K-pop section now, and this is a bit different because all these different boxes and special packaging they have for the K-pop releases, they're all different sizes. So it looks a bit more messy on the shelf, doesn't it? But in those boxes, you will get a CD and then photos and then lyrics and things like that, I think. K-pop, still pretty big in Japan as well. And then we're on the CD aisle. I thought we'd see if we could find anything interesting here. And something caught my eye, which was a Creepy Nuts CD. If you're into your Japanese music, you might know them, or you should check them out if you like just crazy Japanese rap. And then we got to the DVD section here. Mr. Bean, a fellow countryman, part of a 3 DVD series it looks like. I don't think he released many episodes, did he, Mr. Bean? And then what else can we find? Any films? Inception, classic there. I think I was in Japan when that came out, or when I first saw it at least. Maybe 2010, 2011, around those times. And then I found myself in the Idoru section, the idol section. Idols are a bit different to normal pop stars. They're really built up and there's this whole industry around them. And you can do meet and greets and things like that. Yeah, at the top there, Dansei Idoru and Josei Idoru. So divided by women idols and men idols. And then I found the VHS section. I wondered if they were going to have videos here, and they did. Burasu. One of my favourite films called Brassed Off in English. It's got Ewan McGregor in. A lot like the Full Monty, but a bit darker, set in Yorkshire, and I really wanted to buy that, but I'm trying to be a minimal traveller at the moment. I do have a VHS collection back in the UK. Dragon Ball Z, cartoon. Yeah, some things in this shop, they are really cheap, so they're quite tempting. And then other things are quite expensive. Yeah, Book Off's definitely not always the cheapest option for a lot of things, and I think probably because we're in Shinsaibashi as well, which is quite a tourist area, things might be especially marked up in this shop. But I'm now back on the CDs and in the game soundtrack section. Quite easy to get game soundtracks on CD in Japan. And then we got Nintendo Switch and DS games, some more modern stuff, and then some more old school consoles on the right. You can see a Super Nintendo down there. PS2, and then in this next cabinet we've got all the handheld devices like Game Boy Colors at the bottom, and then I think that's a Wonder Swan on the top shelf, never released in the West. And then yeah, the better Super Famicom games and Game Boy games they'll put in this glass cabinet. All the old school Pokemon games at the top. Yeah, and then when we walk round the corner, we get to kind of all the broken stuff, or the stuff that's just completely tobacco stained. So it'll be a bit cheaper, but it might not work. Loads of N64s and PS2s, and a Nintendo DS that some kids stuck a load of Pokemon stickers on. I think that one did say it's broken, but it's still 2,700 yen. So as I said, everything's not always that cheap. Too many people down that aisle. Gauntlet of Japanese salarymen. Let's move on to the next floor and see what we can find up here. And just on the stairs here, I did see a wall of all the old school Pokemon games. They look quite different to our boxes. Of course, Japan had red and green and blue. We didn't have green, did we? Then there's yellow there as well. I spotted some cool Pikmin posters on the left there. Here we go. Someone's saying "Irashaimase," which is just their way of welcoming you to the shop, really. You don't have to say anything back. So we're in the books section now. This felt like a learning or a non-fiction aisle. This one says Columbus, so that's obviously about Christopher Columbus, part of a series, as you can see there, probably just about loads of famous people. Not many people on this aisle. It is a Friday night. And then I found these kids' books. This one's called Obento Basu, the bento bus. Yeah, probably a good place to start if you're trying to teach yourself Japanese with the kids' books. Then I ended up in a bit more of an otaku aisle. So we've got the the figure. Lots of different character figures. This is not my forte, so. But then we've got Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Do know about those. Obviously the valuable ones because they're in this glass cabinet or shelf thing. And then over here we've got, again, K-pop stuff, K-pop photos. All the members of your favourite boy band, you can buy their photos. And then Pokemon cards. Again, the really valuable ones. Lots of shinies. Used to love Pokemon cards back in the day. Very out of the loop with that kind of stuff now. More K-pop photos on the right. The amount of these just shocked me, really. So I guess that was the trading card aisle. Trading card / photo aisle. And then they must have been the valuable ones because you come around here and I guess these are the Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards for people who actually want to play the game. So you can buy useful cards that you need for quite cheap, 30 yen per card. That's really cheap. Just a few pence per card. And then another aisle of kind of reference non-fiction books. And then in the middle, another kind of otaku aisle. More figures. If you know any of these, shout them out in the comments below. Is that Naruto? Yeah. I mean, I can recognize Naruto. I don't know much about it at all. Yeah, some of these figures, I kind of recognize some of them, but not many of them. But you do see a lot of shops. I was in Nipponbashi the other night and there's a whole shop just dedicated to these figures. And then we're back with the Pokemon cuddly toys, the Nuigurumi. Kind of everywhere. And I spotted one of my favourites. Well, Blastoise is one of my favourites, but obviously they always start off as a Squirtle. And there were two girls at the counter there. I guess maybe they were trying to sell something because obviously that's how Book Off gets a lot of their stock, or most of it. They'll get it from people coming in and trading their items in. So now we're on to another floor of books. What they call in the second floor now. These are more novels, more fiction type books, these ones. Bunko, which is like the small paperback size that you find in Japan. And then another aisle of kind of like learning and research type stuff. I spotted this one. Maybe that would be a good idea for me. Looks like this one's all about uploading and finding your audience on YouTube. Just so many books, just endless books. I'm just really glad people are still reading books, even if everything is available online. I saw this book for keeping small birds, Kotori. This must be the pet section. I found another one on Kawaii Usagi, cute rabbits. There you go. Yeah, Japan just still loves physical media. Still loves CDs, DVDs, books. Although I did read that Book Off is kind of shutting down a few stores. Probably is a general trend for people to be moving away from physical media. Anyway, finally on the manga floor, this is all just manga on this level. And so I could finally start looking for my Ashita no Jo tankobon. So I was looking for Ashita no Jo in this section. This one's called Ashita Tenki ni Nare. So there are other titles with Ashita in the title. Ashita means tomorrow. So then I found this one as well, which says Ashita no Esa. So I could find those two, but I couldn't find Ashita no Jo there. And then I started to realise that, yes, things are organised alphabetically, again by title, but there are also loads of different sections within this floor. So I had to find the right section and then the right letter. Another section now, this one says Ashita wa doyobi, tomorrow is Saturday. That's obviously not what I'm looking for. Then the one next to it, Ashita kubi ni nariso, I'm going to get fired tomorrow. But still no Ashita no Jo. So I still wasn't in the right section. And then I looked up. So this is the under 220 yen section. This is the slightly dodgy section, the adult section. So I'm not going to pick up anything here because YouTube probably wouldn't like that. But if we look at this sign, yeah, it says, anyone who's not over 18, please refrain from looking or buying. We strictly forbid it. Another Dragon Quest product there. So popular in Japan. Not that big in the West, but you do see Dragon Quest everywhere in Japan. And then we come around here. And yeah, if you can see here down at the bottom, we've got sets. So instead of buying the tankobon on their own, you can buy a series full of them and read the whole story from start to finish. People have obviously traded in whole sets that they've collected. Yeah, manga's still really widely read by a lot of the Japanese population. As you can see, you know, most of the people on this, well, they're all adults on this floor. And so we'll come to this section. And this is, I saw on the sign there, you might have just caught it to the left. This is the shonen section. Shonen means like young boy. So Bleach, that's a famous title. And everything in this section is aimed at young boys. Slam Dunk, basketball, sports manga that I've not read, but I've heard it's good. But even adults, some adults read the shonen manga as well. And then we're here. So that sign says Sunday. So that must be another manga magazine, and everything around here must have been in that magazine or be around a similar theme. This one is Buddha. I have actually read this one by one of my favourite artists, Tezuka Osamu. A lot of people call him the original manga artist. It's obviously about the life of Buddha. It's a really interesting one, that. A bit different to your typical manga. And then Kirby, the Nintendo character, Kirby. So everything gets turned into a manga in Japan. I remember growing up, films we'd like in the UK and the West, you might get a novelization, whereas over here, things generally get turned into a manga. This one's another famous character, Doraemon. You might recognize him. Make sure you put it back, the right number in the right place. And here's another one I have read a bit of. Ranma Hafu, about a boy who turns into a girl. But what's this? This is a set of Ashita no Jo, which, it was nice to see it, but I just couldn't justify dropping, I couldn't justify dropping 10,000 yen on a set, and I no way had space for that. You know, I wasn't going to take the books with me to my next Airbnb. And again, the same thing, but must be in worse condition because that was about half the price. And if you note, there's 20 books in that series, and then I did, in the next section, find one on its own. There was only one, and it's the 20th edition, the last one in the series. And I thought, come on, let's buy it. It's the only thing there. There wasn't another one. I don't know whether that's because it's been popular and they've all gone, but it's only 120 yen. So I thought, I came all the way here, let's grab it. I'll just have to start at the end. And yeah, this was the Jumpu section. If you look in the top left there, Jumpu. Shonen Jumpu is maybe the most popular manga magazine, at least for young kids. I don't believe Ashita no Jo was ever in Shonen Jump, from what I can tell, but I guess it was just lumped in with that whole section. Yeah, I came back outside all the way down to the B1F floor to pay for my Ashita no Jo, the 20th and last book in the set. And I had the right change. It was only 120 yen. I was going to put it in that guy's hand and he was like, no, put it in the tray. I was like, oh yeah, don't normally pay in cash. And there we go. I did it. Came all the way to Book Off and I got hold of an Ashita no Jo tankobon. So let's read it. My namesake. It's a shame I couldn't get one. Maybe I can get one elsewhere, actually. It would be good to start with one instead of spoiling the end in edition 20. So maybe I'll go to another bookshop. There are so many. There are other book offs and there are brand new bookshops as well. So maybe I'll go there and see if I can find an Ashita no Jo Ichi, the first in the series. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Book Off is kind of a staple of Japan. If you want secondhand CDs, books, games, anything nerdy, then it's the place to go. The prices can be a bit expensive, but there's so much choice and it's so fun kind of looking around. You know, it's easy enough to buy stuff online on Amazon or whatever these days, but I think looking for stuff is part of the fun. And so I enjoyed myself there today. Hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, I'd appreciate a like, a thumbs up, and if you subscribe to my channel, I've got loads more videos coming. Me in Osaka, going round, living my life and buying stuff from the various shops, supermarkets, convenies. But yep, thanks for watching and I'll speak to you soon.